Okay, we will pick up from here on project screening and selection. Remember when we say that the project scope statement is talking about the project scope, which is the components and the subcomponents. It's like, what is this project all about? You see, and then what are the components in the project? What are the subcomponents in the projects? Or what are the components of the product? What are the subcomponents of the product? And then the assessments, uh of the project, coming to this point whereby the deliverables, the deliverable meaning that what is the outcome, of the project. So those subcomponents and components are the parts that we want to produce, and they were made up to the project scope. Okay, so preparation, we in this scope statement, it will also show you what is the outcome, what are the deliverables, what are the outcomes that we are looking for, and there will be attaching sketches, attaching certain conceptual design or some preliminary design work that may be attached to this scope statement, okay, depending on how sure the client is, or in some cases in the government agency, normally this part we probably call it cadangan technical and cost, CTK, you see. So yeah, so that is what that was what is produced, you see. And then now that we understand, now this is the parts, this is the project, we're building a bridge, or we're building a product, we're building a new factory lines, or we are building a new components or something, or A base, defense base, which whatever project that we are building, that we understand what are the components and subcomponents that is necessary, then we put the project through screening and selection processes. This is a very big component, because when you say you want to build a bridge, or you want to build a super mall, a hyper mall, or something, there will be other things within the organization itself that are competing for the same funding. So that land itself can be used for many different options, many different things. It doesn't have to be a project on development. It doesn't have to, I mean, you can actually rent it out, or you can actually build, uh, commercial things, or you can do agriculture even. That is also a project. You can plant bananas, or you can, you know, uh, um, plant pineapples, vegetables, and make it a very agriculture, a very green park or something like that. So there's options. There's many options to same thing, you see. So, and when there is competing funds, you see, when there are competing funds, normally, there will be a few ideas that are cropping up. But of course, some projects like infrastructure projects, there'll probably be no specific ideas at all. I mean, sorry, not there will be very specific ideas that actually can be to proceed or not to proceed. So, for example, if I need to connect point A to point B, I need to build a bridge. But you could also build a jetty or wharves, you see. So, but the point is, it's about connecting the two things. And some projects, the option is very clear. You just have to do a bridge. You just have to do the pipeline. You just have to build the electricity. You do the substation, build the electricity transmission line. So those are like non screening. Basically, it is very necessary. So there's a range. Some things are necessary, very necessary. It's a necessity. Some things is that you may have different options, because all of them will produce different type of results in a way, and then may make different type of profit for the organization in a way. So this part here, we call it project screening. As which of this project will actually provide the best benefits to the company? Which of this project will actually provide uh, the best value and the money that the client has in order to embark. Some may be a fantastic idea, but they don't have the kind of funding, you see. So in the very broad aspects, like for example, government sectors, your consideration could be meeting some social, political objectives, or private sectors would normally talk about very simple, straightforward value, profit, and all that. Non-profitable organization or charitable organization, it really, the needs of it drive them. So, and then, if they have to go and get funding, they have to get donation and all that. And when they want to do a project, they need to seriously consider whether any of these projects actually fit their needs better. Any of the option actually fits the needs better. So it is very important that the initial screening is done. So depending on which point that you come from, are you a government, or are you private sectors, or are you in the non-profitable organization? So you need to screen your project and select your project carefully. Okay. So normally there's two things that we need to understand. Is this project technically doable? That is very important. I mean, that we don't address this here, but because this is go without saying, if technically you can't do it, then let's forget about it, or that is over already, the end of the story already. It will just die like that, especially for the project. And then the next important question is it economically feasible? Does it economically feasible? It's not economics, economy. It's about whether the benefit and cost that is produced by this particular project actually really meet the mission, the vision of the organization, the need of the organization. Does it make the profit? Does it really bring benefit more than cost? And of course, financially viable, meaning that I'm not making money. Do we have the money to do? So we need to answer this question. So to do all this, some people will talk about it under feasibility studies, you see. So when you talk about feasibility studies, the name is feasibility studies, but feasibility studies is quite, I would say, very not so accurate, because when we talk about feasible, it just means whether it's possible or not to do it, you see. But when you say possible or not to do it, there's many aspects that you're looking at. So one aspect of it is technically, is the ground condition on this piece of land okay? Or is the factory space big enough to build another line? Or is the space big enough to actually add in something else? Is the land big enough? So these are like technical issues dealing with the ground conditions, dealing with the weather, dealing with the logistics, dealing with the geographical condition, dealing with the terrain, the topography, surveys, and all that. So you need to understand the technicality. So in fact, people are also putting it under feasibility studies, but it's not the only thing. You need to do other components like the economic component and the finance component. So these are what we lump it under feasibility studies. So feasibility studies actually is money involved. You need to look at the cost of doing the feasibility studies. So it can be expensive if you look at it that way, you see. I mean, it could cost you depending on what you're doing. Some people, if it's infrastructure project, you may need to do social studies, economic studies. You may also do environmental studies. You may also do the law, legal impact and all that. So with each of these studies, they can easily cost like 50,000, and some of them will be counted based on project cost, 1% of the project cost, which is quite a lot. If you talk about 50 million, 1% is a lot of money, you see. So it is something that is important, but it's also expensive. So people tend to find it difficult to accept. I need to spend so much money in the beginning, and I don't even know whether I can do it or not, or whether whether we should go ahead with it or not, you see. So that is something that is always holding people back, holding the government back, holding the organization back from embarking onto proper feasibility studies, actually. So that is one of the issues that, is frequently happening in the engineering industry, even though it's so important to do the studies, to understand the benefit, the cost, the finance, the money, where it comes from, the sponsors of the money, and code as well.